Hello everyone, GM, happy Friday, or whatever day it is when you are listening to this. We're gonna get right into today's show. I am talking about some recent drops that happened and got big, what I'm sort of watching out for, some projects I'm keeping my eyes on, and I wanna start with like a brief market update overview. I don't wanna spend too much time here because this is why we have our new segment, Moment of Zeneca, every other week with our favorite Zeneca 33. He will be back with me next week to do a deeper breakdown on what's happening in the NFT market in a macro and to some extent micro sense, but worth touching on it today as well. So crypto remains sort of down, or I think the better way to say it is somewhat stagnant, and that has been good for NFTs. As Zeneca mentioned last week, NFTs tend to do best and thrive the most when crypto is steady, not dipping, not pumping. And that, I think, is what we are seeing. That has continued to be the case. The dummies version, I want to give a quick dummies version of why crypto is down from some of its highs. Many of you probably know this, but for those of you who don't, here's like the quick idiot's version. Crypto is basically doing bad because the Federal Reserve, has signaled that they will likely raise interest rates. And when the Fed raises interest rates, that means better news for things like really safe assets or things that are perceived to be safe assets like bonds. And when people put money into bonds, they usually have taken money out of their riskier assets like stocks or crypto. And so if interest rates go up, money will probably come out of these markets and into things like the bond market. There's a lot more complexity to that. Y'all can @ me at Twitter for everything that I'm missing. This is not supposed to be a conversation about macroeconomic theory, but did want to just give that little bit of insight for anybody who is unfamiliar with the fluctuations of the economy.
Everyone is talking about the metaverse these days, and we're all still trying to figure out what it actually is, because everyone is looking for how to get exposure to it. That is why a metaverse index fund is so important, because in such a young market, an index can give you broad exposure to all the various players who are building out all these digital worlds that will ultimately become the metaverse. And that's why you should check out the Metaverse Index from the Index Co-op. The Metaverse Index gives you simple, easy, and safe one-click exposure to the emerging open metaverse trend. The MVI Index contains some of the biggest metaverse projects out there, including AXIE Infinity, Decentraland, Illuvium, and more. So join thousands of holders who have already trusted nearly $50 million to the MVI Index. And if you buy $500 of MVI on the Dharma app, you can receive $50 worth of ETH on the Polygon network. There's a link in the show notes for you to click so you can get started on your journey into the metaverse. Unstoppable Domains is the #1 provider of NFT domains. With domains ending in .crypto, .x, or .nft, Unstoppable Domains lets you replace your long, complex wallet address with a human-readable address. Using Unstoppable, you can verify the ownership over your NFTs, log into Web3 apps, and join tens of thousands of people using them as their Twitter usernames. With Unstoppable Domains, you can have all of your crypto addresses registered to one single domain. So it doesn't matter where crypto payments are coming from or where they're going. By registering all of your crypto addresses to your Unstoppable domain, all of that is taken care of in the back end. Better yet, with Unstoppable Domains, you don't have to worry about gas costs or renewal fees because you own it. Buy your domain and you can show it off as your new Twitter username. So you can get your name for as low as $5 at unstoppabledomains.com.
What I really want to do is highlight a project this week that I've been tracking that I think is really interesting and is worth talking more about. So that is the Rug Radio launch by Farokh. Great influencer in the space, longtime community builder on social media, Farokh. Go check him out if you don't already follow him. So this week, Farokh launched the Rug Radio Genesis NFT. I'm gonna walk you through everything that's involved in this drop because it's pretty extensive, I have to say. And also, I'm the idiot. I hope I make you all feel better with all of my mistakes in this space because I make them so dang often. I'd gotten on like the whitelist or the friends list, I think it was called, to get a member pass, which would have allowed me to mint a Genesis NFT. Got myself on that list and then like promptly, I don't know, blacked out for 2 months and like ignored every post in the Discord saying like, hey, it's time now to actually get your member pass. You're on the whitelist for it. Go get it. And just like completely, yeah, it was the holidays. I don't know where I was, just completely blacked out and didn't get it. So of course now I've had to go back on the secondary and buy into this project that I could have been in already. So the struggles of having a full-time job and a podcast and trying to keep up with everything is my excuse. I'm going to walk you through what the sort of 4 components of this project are. Like I said, this is an involved, complicated project. I respect it for how complicated it is, but I want to break this down. So there are really 4 tokens I think that you need to know about, and each leads to the other. So we started with this thing called a member pass, which is what I was on the whitelist for and then never claimed. The member pass will apparently have a long life in this Rug Radio ecosystem, and that's your first step here. Your member pass, the first thing it did was give you the right to mint a Genesis NFT, a Rug Radio Genesis NFT. And that, as far as I can tell, is sort of the first fundraising mechanism to fundraise for this project, which I'll explain a bit more. The Genesis NFT will also allow you to claim a utility token. We've talked about utility tokens on this show. I'm sure you're familiar with what they are. So it'll allow you to claim it in, I'm assuming, an ERC20 token called Rug. And that utility token Rug will allow you to ultimately buy with that Rug token, RDAO, which is the governance token for the Rug Radio DAO. So that's 4 different, there's a member pass that gets you the Genesis NFT, which gets you Rug, which gets you RDAO. So what is this whole thing? Basically, Rug Radio is a decentralized media platform. That's what it's aiming to be. Founded by Farokh, who, as I mentioned, has been building communities on social media since he was a teenager. He's still really young, I believe. And it's built on the premise that creators and hosts and the people creating media narratives should be rewarded and be the owners then of the company, quote unquote, that's enabling them or helping them to build that narrative. And this is born out of Farokh's own experience, having been a community builder for many, many years on all of these centralized platforms like Instagram, like Facebook, Tumblr, etc., where he felt like the people that were benefiting the most from his ability to build a community were those social media platforms and weren't actually him himself. He was really just creating more ad revenue for, I guess now, Meta or for Tumblr, rather than himself getting to own the platform in which he was contributing so much. So that's really the idea behind this. You're going to have different hosts who host shows as part of the Rug Radio network. He's said, and I'll get this quote exactly, he wants Rug Radio to be a launch pad, an incubator, a brand builder, an accelerator, a creator fund that will grow to be even more with time. So it's attracting the kinds of people who are talking about the Web3 space, talking about it well, and giving them a wider audience to reach in that pursuit, and then allowing them to benefit from that ecosystem if they themselves create a lot of value for that ecosystem, for this Rug Radio ecosystem. Okay, so we have our 4 tokens, right? Our member pass, our Genesis NFT, our Rug utility token, our RDAO. And how this is going to work is this DAO structure is going to be rolled out slowly over time. So I mentioned you could use your Rug utility token to buy RDAO, which becomes the way you govern the DAO, but that's happening very slowly. The amount of Rug that is being output as part of your Genesis NFT means that some people won't be able to buy RDAO for a full year, right? They won't even be able to buy into the DAO for a long time. And they said that that's intentional. This slow release structure is intentional because they feel like they need to be slow. And in what I'm about to say, I totally agree with in how they move from centralized to decentralized. So the initial structure here for Rug Radio is that Farokh and others are going to kind of govern the community. It's more like a delegate structure, like what we saw with ENS, where you have the community votes for representatives who will really run the DAO. And then over time, as more people are able to buy into the DAO using our DAO, it'll become increasingly decentralized. But that will happen slowly to allow for not just total chaos and mayhem at the beginning of the project. So as of right now, the Rug DAO has something called Rug Bank, which is their treasury, of course. 50% of all sales from the primary Genesis NFT sale has already gone into Rug Bank. I think it's like 1,000 ETH. And moving forward, 70% of all secondary sales will also go to Rug Bank. So Rug Bank has a pretty sizable treasury to start with, and that treasury will only grow over time. And Rug Bank itself is the holder of Genesis NFTs and therefore will accrue Rug tokens, which it will then, those utility tokens, which it will then pay out to its hosts and creators. If your brain is exploding right now, I apologize. I want to get some of the mechanics in here because I do think this is an impressive and ambitious project. And I like to educate you all on things that I think are impressive and ambitious. So that is what I'm doing. That's the general mechanism. I think I fit most of that in there. I guess the only other thing to add, Farokh has said that in his broader vision here, I think he wants this to be like a 24/7 platform that runs. And so really, like I'm sure he would hate the comparison, but a CNN or a MSNBC or a Fox or whatever, right? Where it's 24-hour content. But in this case, it's because you have so many creators from around the world who are a part of your ecosystem. They own this ecosystem, and they're now directly benefiting from the content they're putting out at all times across different time zones, etc. I'm excited about this. I think I am a pretty staunch critic of media. I've publicly criticized media companies. I don't think this solves everything. I think some of the problem with media is just a human problem that we can never fully solve. Narratives are always going to be malleable. People are going to have different interpretations of events. People are going to spread misinformation unintentionally or intentionally. I think it'll be really interesting to see how a model like this handles bad actors. My assumption is that the DAO will be able to remove a creator or a host if that host starts to spew things or say things that folks don't like. But that's a central tension, right? Is this question of censorship that we're coming up against in all these Web 2 ways. That will continue to be a problem in Web 3 because it's a fundamentally human problem. It's not something that can be fixed with technology. So I'm personally fascinated by media and by media ecosystems. So I'm going to be tracking this project. Like I said, I bought into this project. I have literally no stake in it other than the money I put up, which was, as you guys know, I'm like terrified of putting too much money into any one thing. So it wasn't crazy. But I want some skin in the game because I want to see where this goes and I want to see how it evolves. And I think it's cool. So I would encourage you to go check it out. Farokh has a lot of good resources out about the project right now. He's done a bunch of Twitter spaces about it. He's got a long tweet thread he posted about it. We'll include that in the links. And we will see where this goes from here. The next topic, the next drop upcoming that I'm sure y'all have been hearing about, and I want to give you the lowdown if you haven't been following it closely. Cool Cats Pets. It's happening. Cool Cats Pets is finally coming. I'm excited about this drop, though I am not a holder of Cool Cats, unfortunately, because William Peaster, who is our wonderful blog writer, newsletter writer at Bankless, who writes the Metaversal newsletter, as part of our 2022 predictions episode, William predicted that Cool Cats Pets and the launch of Cool Cats Pets would catapult Cool Cats into Bored Ape and CryptoPunk territory in terms of how big the project is. I have to say, I think he might be right. Let's talk about what this is in a little bit more depth, though. Everything we know about Cool Cats Pets. So it's launching next Friday, which is January 28th. I'm recording this the Thursday, but it'll come out the Friday prior to that. I posted this on Twitter. They have a badass trailer promotional video hyping up the launch of Cool Cats Pets. And it's like this kind of deep, intense hype music, which I'm so into, and it's hilarious because it's such a funny contrast to the visual style of Cool Cats, which is so fun and family friendly, and then they have this intense hype music underneath it. I think it's great though. The price of the Cool Cats Pets are going to be 0.5 ETH, which has created some controversy. We'll talk about that. I think that's a central piece to talk about here. The way to get a Cool Cats pet, other than buying one on the secondary market, is either hold a Cool Cats, in which case you can then claim a pet, or to be on one of their allow lists. And many projects in the space were hosting raffles so that members of their communities could get on an allow list for a Cool Cat pet. I entered into some of these raffles. I did not, however, get onto an allow list, unfortunately. So if I want a Cool Cat pet, which I do, I will have to buy one on the secondary, but we're gonna have to see what the prices are before I commit to that. Simultaneously to this Cool Cat pet launch, there's going to be these quests that are going to start, and people can compete in the quests to earn gold and then to own milk, which are tokens on Polygon and Ethereum, respectively, that are the Cool Cats utility tokens that they are launching. Those those tokens, the gold tokens and the milk tokens, will be able to be used to purchase items and other things within the Cool Cats ecosystem. And items, crucially, this will bring us back to Cool Cats pets, can be, I guess, given, fed to your pet to make it grow into its end state. So a critical piece of this Cool Cats Pets drop is that your Cool Cat pet that you will get is starting off as an egg. You will feed it items using your milk and gold tokens, and it will then evolve into its eventual end state. There are 4 categories of pets, I will say: fire, water, air, and grass. So it's like the 4 elements. And that is how this whole system is going to work. So it's a bit gamified. I'm going to do a fun game called What Will the Price of a Cool Cat Pet Be on the Secondary Market? I said the price to buy one is 0.5 ETH, or the initial price to mint is 0.5 ETH. That caused a bit of a stir because people felt like it was too expensive. It obviously is very expensive. On the other hand, I think no one among us will suggest that it's not going to easily go for more than that on the secondary markets. So if you do buy one via mint, you will immediately be able to flip it for a profit if you'd like. So from that standpoint, I think it doesn't bother me so much. It's not like they're overpricing these things. They're still almost certainly underpricing them. People would have paid much, much more at mint. But I understand it's about an accessibility thing. There are people who maybe are on these allow lists who simply can't afford something that's $1,500. I understand that frustration. My best guess as to what the price of a Cool Cat pet will be on the secondary market is 3 ETH. So I'm going to walk you through my thinking on this. I think after mint, it'll go to 3 ETH. It could go much higher, but here's my thinking. There's comparisons to being made to like the Kennel Club canine, what's it called? Bored Ape Kennel Club, right? The dog companions that were released as a part of the Bored Ape ecosystem. They currently trade at around 6 ETH. That's 7% of the 78 ETH that Bored Apes themselves trade for. And it's, about 30% or whatever, 33% of the 15 ETH that mutant apes currently trade for. So the kennel clubs trade for 7% of Bored Apes. 7% of a Cool Cat, Cool Cats right now are around 12 ETH, would be 0.8 ETH. So if the Cool Cat pets were the same ratio to Cool Cats that the Kennel Club is to Bored Apes, we would expect them to trade around 0.8 ETH. But I think that's clearly too low. There's no way, people really want to get into the Cool Cats ecosystem. There's no way if these things are being initially priced at 0.5 that they start selling for 0.8. And on top of that, the pets feel like a bigger part of the Cool Cats ecosystem, honestly, than the Kennel Club feels to the Bored Ape ecosystem. In part, there's a gamified component to this. This feels like a launch of a broader gaming ecosystem in which the pets play a role. There's a sort of Tamagotchi feel to this. There's sort of a Furby feel to this. It feels like a more ambitious project than the canines were, which were simply an airdrop to the Bored Ape holders. So I think they'll trade for significantly more from a percentage standpoint than the canines did to the Bored Apes. So I'm betting 3 ETH for these. People know they want them. They know they want to be a part of the Cool Cat ecosystem. Maybe it'll be a little less, maybe it'll be a little more, but that's my bet. Tweet at me your bet. We'll see what happens come next Friday when these things actually go on sale. I also wanted to make another point on this price question. I heard Jim McNeilis at a talk actually during NFT NYC say that part of the reason gas prices are such a problem is because projects are underpricing their drops. And this is a really smart point that I don't think is necessarily a point people love to hear, but the reality is if drops themselves were priced much higher, people would be then priced out of them and there would be less competition for them, which would mean the price of gas would go down. And more money then would be going into the hands of the actual project creators as opposed to going to miners, which feels a little bit more like a waste. Sorry, miners, right? It feels annoying when, the majority of what you're paying for an NFT is going to gas fees. So Jim was like, the gas problem in this space is also partly a pricing problem in this space. Of course, it's unappealing to think about projects pricing their drops way higher so that only whales can get in on them. I mean, that's what it feels like anyways when you have these gas wars. Of course, this is what whitelists are trying to fix. This is why presumably Cool Cats Pets is doing this allow list, and there's ways projects try and get around gas now, but I did think that was an interesting point in terms of gas and pricing, and worth flagging for y'all. Some food for thought there.
Polygon is Ethereum's largest and most vibrant scaling solution to date. With millions of monthly users and all of the biggest DeFi apps, the Polygon ecosystem has turned into a blossoming metropolis of DeFi activity. Transactions on Polygon are quick and cheap, allowing users the freedom to achieve their DeFi goals, all while being economically anchored to Ethereum. But Polygon isn't just the proof-of-stake sidechain. The Polygon team is building a suite of scaling solutions, including Polygon Hermes, Maiden, Nightfall, and Zero, all with different design choices in order to be optimized for all possible crypto use cases. If you're a developer who wants to build on the Polygon ecosystem, go to the link in the show notes to check out their fantastic documentation. And if you're a user who just wants to experience fast and cheap DeFi, you can bridge over your ETH or other tokens and start playing around with any of the thousands of applications that are available on Polygon. Axie Infinity is a game universe filled with cute, fascinating little creatures called Axies that players can collect as pets. Players aim to battle, breed, collect, raise, and build kingdoms for their Axies. There are and will be many varied gaming experiences for Axies, many of them having players compete with each other using complex strategies and tactics to attain top rankings or be rewarded with coveted resources. Others will have them complete quests, defeat bosses, and unlock in-depth storylines. There are countless unique Axies that players can collect with varying body parts and experiences. The Axie universe is a player-owned economy where the players can truly own, buy, sell, and trade the resources they earn in the game through skilled gameplay and contributions to the ecosystem. It's a digital nation where people come together globally with their Axies to play, earn, and live. Join the Axie revolution at axieinfinity.com/bankless.
Okay, big moves being made in the corporate world this week. Specifically, Microsoft announced that it would be buying Activision, a huge gaming company, the maker of the game Call of Duty. They had merged or bought Blizzard a while back, so they're sort of two separate game makers that had merged into one. They do sort of different things, but they're all under one umbrella now, and they are all about to be under the Microsoft umbrella. I don't have any wild insight to give here beyond what y'all have probably heard. Obviously, this is a boon for anybody who's bullish on the metaverse. I mean, nobody in this space is questioning at this point that the metaverse is coming, and it's coming fast. And the fact that these big corporate players are doing everything they can to get their slice of it is only further proof of that. We obviously started with Meta. We now see Microsoft making its moves. I think the takeaway here that all of us who are in this space deep right now, those of you who are listening to this podcast right now and therefore are early in this space, our responsibility is to fight as hard as we can as this all continues to evolve for a decentralized, interoperable metaverse that is not dominated by a couple big companies the way Web 2 is. It's exciting to me on the one hand to see these big players getting into the space because it is such validation of what we all already know, and it's such validation of the conversations we're all having. And on the other hand, it also threatens what I think we all want to build, which is a space that is not run by corporate overlords in the way that Web 2 is. And look, this ties us back to Rug Radio and what Farokh is trying to do with decentralized media platforms. So it's up to all of us to continue to fight for that world as we see how things are evolving, and to encourage these companies like Microsoft, like Meta, to allow us to live interoperably between whatever they're building and the Sandbox and Decentraland and these other players. Time will tell, my friends. Okay, two big drops this week. The two that I want to highlight, we have the Ozzy Osbourne drop. He dropped CryptoBatz. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about HAPEBEAST, which was the other big drop this week. I might piss people off with my commentary on HAPEBEAST, so we'll see. We'll find out. We're going to start with CryptoBatz. Ozzy Osbourne launched his NFT project. It's called CryptoBatz. And it seems like a cool project, I have to say. So the basic premise here is that, or I should say the headline here, in my opinion, is that there's this component to the CryptoBatz project that's called Ancient Bats. And basically that's this massive treasure hunt that apparently you have ancient bats hidden all around the world, and if you're a CryptoBatz holder, you get to participate in this like ancient bats treasure hunt, and it's super interactive, and you have all these incredible artists who have worked on designing the ancient bats. And I don't know, I think that's fun. I think that's the kind of thing this space should be doing, and it's Ozzy Osbourne who is giving it the try, who's trying it in this latest round. The other thing to highlight about CryptoBatz is that they have this biting power, which does strike me as somewhat innovative. Basically, every CryptoBatz is able to bite one of a handful of blue chip NFT projects. Those projects are Bored Ape, Cryptodes, Supducks, Alien Friends, Cyberkongs. They can bite one of those projects and it will then become like a mutant bat that has taken from one of those blue chip projects and mutated. I kind of was laughing at this because I think this is cool and it is innovative, and so it is something that seemingly will excite people, this idea of like biting another NFT. It reminds me of Wolfgame, the way that Wolfgame allowed you to have an NFT that could steal another NFT. This NFT interacting with another NFT thing is something we're starting to see and that I like. But it does make me laugh a little bit because it feels like we're in this phase of Web3 where things that will be commoditized in the future are new and exciting and therefore can drive valuations. Like, it feels like in the future, an NFT interacting with another NFT or biting one or whatever, right? Like, this is not going to be exciting. This is going to be really commonplace in NFT projects that you have this kind of technology built into it. But right now it's so new that we're like, yeah, like 10 ETH, whatever it takes. Like, I just get me a part of this cool, innovative project. The floor price on these are not 10 ETH, but I'm being hyperbolic. But like, I was trying to think of what an equivalent to this might have been during the like rise of the Web 2 era. I didn't come up with a good example, but the example I did come up with is like search functionality on like a web page. Like, if you came across a website that like really easily indexed and searched through the site to find what you wanted, and we were like, oh, this is so exciting. That probably was never a thing that people were excited about. But my point being, like, something that is now so commonplace and so commoditized for the internet that we wouldn't even think twice about it. I think some of what we're seeing in these projects that we think is really cool and innovative, because it is also something that in, I don't know, as soon as a year or 2 years or 5 years or something, we're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe we bought into projects simply because they could do X or Y. Again, you may agree or disagree with that analysis. Would love to hear your thoughts. I also want to say I feel like there's like a vampire attack joke here somewhere. Vampire attacks in tech are when you steal the users of another project for your project. So we talked about this recently in the case of LooksRare and OpenSea, where LooksRare dropped tokens to OpenSea users to try and attract OpenSea's user base to the LooksRare platform. The famous example of this is also Uniswap and SushiSwap. And I don't know, there's a vampire attack pun in here because you're talking about bats, and these bats are quite literally biting other NFT projects. Presumably that will get other NFT projects interested in this. It's not a perfect comparison, but there's a pun. I was trying to do one of these puns on Twitter, and I don't know, I couldn't get there. They were too dad joke-ish, but there's something in there. So anyhow, that's all to say, interested in this Ozzy Osbourne project. Think it's kind of cool. Floor price is like 2.5 ETH, 2.25 ETH. I don't know, something around there last I checked. And I'm not buying in because that's too expensive for me, and I was not on the whitelist. Again, just not paying enough attention, but good for Ozzy. Seems like he's doing something kind of cool in the space. The other project I'm going to talk about that dropped this week was HAPEBEAST. This was also super hyped. People are going to be mad at me because I'm sure I don't know enough about the in-depth of this project, but I also feel like nobody knows enough about the in-depth of this project, because I feel like the point of this project up to this point has been like mystery and like we're the cool kids club, like who doesn't tell you anything about what we are, which is like part of the draw. And it just makes me want to roll my eyes. So I'm going to give you my honest reaction to this. And I'm sure the team is talented and it'll probably be worth $10 trillion or something insane. But my reaction to this was kind of like cringe. The website is cool. So what this is, HAPEBEAST is, the narrative they're painting is they're like a fashion brand, culture, music brand built around apes. But okay, apes have been done 10 trillion times. So they've created this lore that says, back in time, whatever, the apes fractured into like 10,000 different ape tribes. But at the center of this ape multiverse were the hapes. And these HAPEBEASTs are the kind of centerpiece that will reunite all of the apes. I'm probably missing something big. Like, I don't know, one of the founders is probably somebody who's really important and super involved in all these ape communities. And so this is actually something that's built directly from ape communities or something. But for me, it felt a little like, I don't know, trying too hard isn't a fair way to phrase it, but it feels like, okay, you're just doing an ape thing again, but trying to acknowledge the fact that there's 10 trillion ape projects. I mean, look, their website is super slick. Their promo video is super slick. And it was a super hyped drop that a lot of people wanted to get into. The team genuinely does seem talented. I just find the whole thing a little irritating. And on top of that, the pre-reveal, I haven't checked this morning, but as of last night, pre-reveal for these things, they were going for like 7 ETH. Sell. If you got in on mint for one of these, sell that fucking thing for 7 ETH before it reveals. This had METAVERSE written all over it to me. If you guys don't remember the METAVERSE drop, it was also wildly hyped. It got up to like 10 ETH pre-reveal. It felt so obvious that there was no way they were going to be able to sustain a 10 ETH floor after reveal happened. And of course they didn't, and reveal happened, the price tanked. The price is now around, I think, like it's like under an ETH now for one of the METAVERSE. And that's not to dunk on that project. It's a totally fine project. It's actually not really their fault. It's just to say that when something is valued that incredibly high before reveal, you want to get yourself out, and trust me, it'll fall. You can buy back in later. Okay, that's my HAPEBEAST take. Again, I'm not the most informed on HAPEBEAST, so you all can come at me, explain to me what the heck it really is, why it's the sickest thing ever, why they're revolutionizing fashion or something. But for me, feels a little overhyped, feels like it's trying really hard to create that hype by telling you nothing about what they're really going to do. I also had a problem getting into their Discord, so I think I'm just bitter. Not like they wouldn't, they did that intentionally. Again, the whole thing is intentionally designed to be exclusive, and I get that that's the thing. So I'm just like, on the outside looking in and being bitter, I'm sure, but it was very cryptic how to get into their Discord, and I couldn't figure it out, and I felt like an idiot. So whatever, that's my take. Closing today with, I don't know, I'll call it what I'm feeling, and I'll be curious if some of you are feeling this too. I had this conversation with somebody else in the space yesterday, which is I'm a fan of long-term holds, right? I like buying into projects for the long term. I've been open about that. I've never been like a great flipper in general. That's never been my scene. The problem with being somebody who believes in like long-term holding is that you're not selling stuff. And so you just keep putting money into the ecosystem, and you're not getting profits out. And so you just start running out of money. So I'm feeling this hard right now. I also like to keep a lot of ETH. Like it makes me nervous not to have ETH. And I don't know, there's projects I want to buy into, but I'm not like liquid enough to be doing it. So I'm trying to figure that out. That's what had actually led me to sell one of my Boss Beauties, which was a terrible decision. I talked about this. I sold it at like 0.27, literally the day before it exploded. They're now over an ETH. And I haven't aped into a lot of projects. So there's not a lot of projects where I hold like 16 of them or something, and I can sell off 5 and create that liquidity. Like my holdings are sort of sparse for each project that I hold. And so I would love to change that, but that would require selling off some of the projects that I hold in order to buy into new ones. Sharing this in case it's relatable for folks, and just to say, we're all in this, we're all navigating this together. And I'm really grateful to have this platform to be able to share things like this with you all, because typically I get nice responses back with people saying they can relate. So anyhow, that is the show for today. I'm so grateful to you all for tuning in. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Share the podcast, subscribe. We have some great conversations coming up. I'm so excited for the interviews that I have coming up in the weeks to come. And we're actually going to have, I think, 3 episodes come out next week, because I'm doing a crossover episode with the Bankless team. And I'm so pumped for y'all to hear what we have in store over the next couple of weeks. Please do share the podcast so others can hear it as well if you're finding value from it. And on a closing note, thank you so much to the team over at Bankless, the editors, the social media team, everybody who helps make this show run and a success. I'm so, so grateful to you guys. Y'all are the best. Have a happy weekend.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, head over to Bankless HQ right now to develop your crypto investing skills and learn how to free yourself from banks and gain your financial independence. We recommend joining our daily newsletter, podcast, and community as a Bankless Premium subscriber to get the most out of your Bankless experience. You'll get access to our market analysis, our alpha leaks, and exclusive content, and even the Bankless token for airdrops, raffles, and unlocks. If you're interested in crypto, the Bankless community is where you want to be. Click the link in the description to become a Bankless Premium subscriber today. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for in-depth interviews with industry leaders, Ask Me Anythings, and weekly roll-ups where we summarize the week in crypto and other fantastic content. Thanks everyone for watching and being on the journey as we build out the Bankless Nation.